Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fifth bonus episode of the Stephen King podcast. And this podcast is being recorded during the month of December, so it's a holiday-focused podcast. And as you find out, I bring you not just one, but two writers. And the reason that I'm doing this is that they are both participating in a charity that everyone should hear about. And so with my two guests, Adam Dreece. Hi, Adam.
Hi.
And Suzy Vadori. Hi, Suzy.
Hi.
Okay, so you guys are both Calgary-based writers, and you're participating in this charity. But before we get into that, just let the listeners know a little about each of yourselves.
Sure. So my name's Adam Dreece. I'm an indie author. I've got a couple of series out, one being The Yellow Hoods, which is a steampunk meets fairy tales series. Young adults, half my audience, about 9 to 15. The other half is our adults, very much a layered story. That's where I started my career. And then I've got a high-action post-apocalyptic fantasy series called The Wizard Killer, and I've got a sci-fi thriller as well called The Man of Cloud 9. And since I started my career back in 2014, I've always been involved in a variety of charities. When I launched my first book, a portion of all the profits went to kids' cancer care. And then for the past 3 years, I've done Books for Good Claus, which is my holiday campaign, and we pick a charity and go after it. And this year I've been able to team up with Suzy Vadori, who's been doing very much the same thing, and she's a good friend of mine, and we decided to join forces and focus on Kids Help Phone. So with that, I'll hand over to Suzy.
Yes, thank you, Adam. I'm Suzy Vadori, and I am a young adult author. I currently have a series out called The Fountain series, and book one of The Fountain actually launched 2 years ago yesterday. It is about a girl named Ava, and she travels from San Francisco to New England and to find out more about her mom who died when she was 10 because she was going to attend a boarding school there that her mom had gone to. And when she gets there, her reputation precedes her, and the kids aren't very nice. She gets really upset, and she runs off into the woods, and she finds this mysterious fountain, and she makes a wish that one of the girls that she'd just met had never existed, and when she gets back to school, the whole world has changed. So it's an alternate timeline story, and it's a lot of fun. It's a romance for teens, and The West Woods is book 2 in the series, and it launched this September. And much like Adam, I have been doing book delivery campaigns the last couple of Decembers. What I find is as soon as December hits, I get this flood, this avalanche of emails and text messages and social media outreach that say, hey, I need a signed book for this person in my life who loves to read young adult or who is a young adult. And so that's how this was all born. And Adam has inspired me as well to donate a portion of that to charity. And Kids Help Phone is something that's near and dear to my heart. And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay. So where you can get in contact with for both of you for these books is booksforgoodclaus.com. That's correct, without an E in the clause.
Right, like Santa Claus. Exactly, yeah. booksforgoodclaus.com.
Great. And you're both parents with children. Was that sort of your into this type of specific charity?
I think, Suzy and I both have 3 kids, and funny enough, their ages are all fairly similar. For myself, it really just came from trying to talk to the younger version of me. When I was a kid, particularly being dyslexic in a time when, people really just ignored that or just told you weren't trying hard, I didn't really have anywhere to turn to. And so in looking at my kids and thinking about the younger version of myself, I think that's why when I write young adults, and I write up to my audience, I don't talk down, but also connecting with these kind of charities, if we can support kind of the kids growing up, then they'll hopefully be much stronger adults. And a little bit of effort with them as a kid is kind of like correcting the tree when it's a sapling, and then hopefully it'll be able to support so much more as they go through in life.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as Adam said, I also have 3 kids, similar ages to his. It's definitely the reason I write for young adults. I want to write something that my kids are going to be able to read, that their friends are going to be able to read and connect with. And I think I've achieved that. But what's interesting is in launching The Fountain and The West Woods, it is teen romance, it's young adult, there's friendship, there's rivalry, there's romance, there's all kinds of stuff that happens to these kids. And one of the markers of young adult fiction is that we call it kill the parents. They can't have anybody in their life that they can turn to in a young adult story to help them. In fact, my editor will go through and say, you know what, this aunt here, she's too nice. You got to get rid of her, because they could call her and she would probably help them, and then the story would be done, right? So, when you're writing that type of thing, it's really interesting and makes for a great story. But when I do workshops and things at schools, I find that kids really do need somebody to talk to, and they will talk to me about, because I write about friendship or do workshops about friendship and rivalry and have kids write about that. And the stories that come out are very personal, and it depends in the setting whether they know the other kids in the room or they don't, and that comes about a very different way. But that's what really drew me to this, was like, okay, we're putting things out there in the world that are definitely fantasy and escapist and everything else, but we also want to ground ourselves in the reality that in the real world, there are people that can help you. And yeah, I hope I'm always that person that my kids come to, but if there's a day when they can't, I hope they know that there's somewhere else that they can go.
Awesome. So both of you were running separate tracks for charities, and I guess you, through writing circles, you met up and realized that you were doing this, and you decided, well, why don't we team up?
I think it was more that we actually met, I think, about 3 years ago. And last year, we'd tried to connect things up, and it didn't sync up in time. And so this year, Suzy kind of reached out and said, hey, before we kind of start these things, what do you think about doing this? And I thought it was absolutely brilliant to put both of our weights behind it, shake the trees and see if people who are interested in supporting, $5 per book sold, going to this charity and helping us hit our goal of $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool because we have similar audiences as well. So for, Adam's got 8 books out, but I only have 2. And so for my audience that have read my 2, it's been really awesome to be able to recommend Adam's books and have them find a whole new path. So that's been really great to be able to share each other's books with our audiences as well. So.
Excellent. And I see that your book drive is linked up with a Kids Help Phone. Can you tell me how that came about?
Yeah, I think I reached out last year, actually inspired by Adam's campaign for charity. I was like, oh, I'm not doing anything with my books. I'm just delivering them. I should be supporting a charity. And so last year I did make a donation to Kids Help Phone for the reasons that I said earlier, kids that I've been working with in schools. But I didn't really involve them because it was kind of a late addition to the campaign. This year, we reached out to Kids Help Phone really early on and said, hey, we're planning to do this. How can you help? How can we help you? And it was a really great conversation because Kids Help Phone was saying that the highest call volumes that they actually receive are in December. So we're talking about holidays and Christmas and people getting this brilliant, unique gift for that avid reader is a signed book that's personalized. It's really cool. And then there's lots of kids out there or families out there that don't have anyone or aren't expecting to get cool, unique gifts. And so, right. They actually see their highest call volumes in December, but it's also their most difficult time to get heard and to get the message out. And in Alberta, where we live right now, they shared with us that they only have a 50% awareness amongst teens that there is this help available or that they can call for anything, and it doesn't have to wait until it's this big major problem. And so we realized that with our voices and with our reach and our audiences that are largely teen, we're able to get that word out for them. So it's a really neat partnership, and they're really excited. They've actually provided us with a whole bunch of swag. So if you do order a book from booksforgoodclaus.com, you'll also get bracelets, and there's phone wallets that stick on the back of your phone, and a whole bunch of other swag that you can get that say Kids Help Phone on it. So you're not only giving the gift of a signed book to a child, you're also giving something with the number on it, so you're helping us spread the word.
One of the things that we did, because this is Canada-centric, one of the things that we did do is find a place where, for your international audience, where they can turn to find similar organizations. So you can go to worldhelplines.org, and they've got a list of places that you can reach out to, not just if you're a teen, but they've got all those contact numbers as well.
Okay, excellent. And for your part, I see that you deliver books to. Is that home delivery? Or
Yeah.
are you okay?
Yeah, we're the
Very
elves.
cool.
We show up in our sleighs and ring the bell and hand books over, and sometimes with Christmas hats.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
to be fair, just in Alberta, we're doing the home deliveries, or in southern Alberta,
right.
and we are doing post deliveries as well. We can mail books, sign books out all over North America or somewhere else. You just need to contact us, and that's all available on the site as well. But yeah, that's part of the fun of it, and why we decided to team up, because it's a lot more fun to go deliver books together and to have that time. As Adam mentioned, we've become very good friends as well. We share a lot of collaboration in being authors and having similar audiences, and so being able to do this together is a lot of fun for us too.
All right. I know you do talks and so forth, but in regards to the charity specifically, you've had one-on-one FaceTime with some of these kids that you're giving books to, and what kind of an experience? That must be quite emotional at times, I imagine.
Well, I think, and this has been over, if I just think over the past 6 months, it's amazing, one, to see a kid really get lifted up by your book. But I can think of several times I've done signings where, this whole store's been kind of quiet, and kid comes up and starts talking, and then they just need somebody to talk to. And they just start sharing, for example, like in my Yellow Hood series, one of the 3 main characters is gay, but I don't plant a flag, and that's not the story. It's just like anybody who's in your circle of friends or whatnot. It's just a matter of fact.
Right.
And they just love that they could have a story where they were kind of taken for granted in the most positive sense, like they were just treated as normal.
Right.
And then they start sharing like some of the challenges that they've got at home or at school or whatnot about that. And it's wonderful to be there in that moment to provide that kind of support. But now to be teamed up with Kids Help Phone, to have that kind of, 1-800 number, to have that website, or tell them about the app, where it doesn't have to be a life-threatening crisis. They could just be, and Susie and I both love this example, you could be home and trying to figure out how to make macaroni and cheese, and you just lost, and they're more than willing to help you through that.
Yeah, it takes tremendous strength to be able to reach out for anything. And that mac and cheese example is something that the Kids Help Phone says themselves. And the reason is because, you thought you were okay and you thought you were going to be able to do it, and you don't find out that you're not. And whatever that is, it's kind of an extreme example, but whatever that is in your life, it's okay to just pick up the phone and call. For me, I feel a tremendous responsibility because, as Adam said, we do have teens reach out to us because we have such a strong social media presence as well. I have social media connections with a lot of teens, and I get to see what they're going through and things, which is really awesome, and I appreciate that they share it. But it's also a tremendous responsibility because I think that a lot of times their parents or other authority figures in their lives are not there, and they are not on those social media platforms, and they can't always see what's happening. So to get those sort of responsible messages out and to make sure that our following actually knows that there's places to turn to, it's not necessarily me. I mean, I'm not a trained counselor. I'll certainly listen and I'll help them through something, but I'll probably direct them to Kids Help Phone or to their own parents.
I commend you both because, I think as teenagers, especially because they're going through such mental and physical changes, a lot of the problems that when you're older as an adult, you take in stride, that for kids, that becomes like their whole central point of existence, and failing around that can really set them back. So to have somebody to talk to is really important to kids, I think. And I really commend you both for what you're doing.
Yeah, I think when you're going through a series of firsts as a teenager, and that's what's really unique about young adult books, it's why adults read it as well, because they remember what it's like to do something for the first time. But when they fail, or if their heart gets broken, or if something happens, they don't have that experience to know that it's going to get better. Those of us who've lived a few extra years, right, guys? Those of us who lived a little bit longer have probably been through that before. And even though it hurts when something happens, something happened, but you know that you're going to feel better in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks. And you know the things that are going to be better in your life. And sometimes teens, when that happens to them for the first time, it does feel like the world is going to end. So, yeah, talking about it with somebody who's been there is really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Because as adults, your time scale is different too, right? Like a year just fly by. When you're a kid, a year seems like a century. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of miss that.
Yeah, same here. Is there anything else about the charity that I haven't asked you that either one of you would like to mention? Maybe just go over the contact information again and other things.
Yeah,
Yes.
In Canada, the number to call, because we didn't actually talk about that, if you're looking for Kids Help Phone, is 1-800-668-6868. And their online site also accepts chat, which is at kidshelpphone with 2 P's.ca. And then, as Adam mentioned earlier, if you're in the United States or international, check out worldhelplines.org. And find somewhere there, because there's lots and lots of different resources that you can go to talk.
And, also to the adults who are listening or to think of themselves, I'm one of those people who readily helps everyone else. And I'd have 2 points in my life where I really had to get past all my own instances of anxiety and shame to be able to reach out and get some help when I was carrying just too much of a load. So even for them, have the strength and kind of lead by example, right? It's not that because you can just endure something that you should keep carrying the burden. Resources are out there to help lighten that load. And sometimes it's just the fact that there's somebody just listening and you get to hear your own thoughts come out. That can clear up a lot. So again, for that, either worldhelplines.org or just having a confidant you can turn to. Don't try to bear these burdens by yourself.
Wise words, to be sure. Okay, so for each of you, is whatever current projects you're working on or anything else, be it writing related or something else that you'd like to make the listeners aware of?
For myself, book 3 in the Fountain series, which I just discovered the name for this week, which will be called Wall of Wishes. So I'm really excited to announce that. The book 3 will be coming out later next year. So for those of you who've read The Fountain, you know that it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and the Westwoods starts at a different point in time from a different point of view. So you don't really get everything wrapped up. Everything is currently being wrapped up in the Wall of Wishes, and you'll be really, really excited where that goes. So.
Cool. Adam?
And on my side, I've got Wizard Killers Season 2's audiobook, should be out just before Christmas. And the 3rd book in the Wizard Killer series, Season 3, I'm just finishing up this weekend, the last scenes. So right now, it looks like it's going to be coming out end of February. And for my Steampunk Beats Fairy Tale fans, the Yellow Hoods, I am lunatically giving myself a breakneck speed deadline of putting out the first spin-off book for the end of April. So provided that I don't need any sleep, all that's going to get done quickly.
Well, we still have to make all the Christmas deliveries too, don't forget, Adam. So.
Yes. Bring it all on.
Bring it all on. The writer's life. That's the life for me, right? Yes. Well, I want to thank you both very much for coming on and talking about this charity that you're working for. I think it's fantastic. And it's odd that in times of holidays, there's a lot of people out there that actually dread them. So depending on their home situation and whatnot, but it's nice to see that you're trying to help them in a way that you can.
Yeah, thank you. And it like we said, it's a lot of fun to actually deliver signed books and to give this really unique gift, especially to young people who perhaps have never met an author or have never had something personalized like that to them. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we can still get it to people throughout North America before Christmas. And remember, with every single book, that's $5 going towards that $1,000 goal. Yes.
So check it out, guys. I'll put links and notes on the liner notes for the podcast. And to everyone, to Adam and Suzy, thank you. Happy holidays. And to everyone out there listening, same to you.
Thanks for having us, Lou.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.